Yeah, no. So it's just been a basically, how moving is. It's pretty brutal. We're not even moving too far. We just moved from one spot to another, but I have to go back to my place like right after this to
Ah,
get some stuff that the movers, we didn't have them getting and stuff. So
you got
that's it.
movers? You didn't just carry
No,
it over in
no,
laundry baskets?
no, no. We don't. No, we did not do that. Those days are done, man.
Yeah, right. I saw a
Mm,
post about that too. They're like, once you hit 35, you can't just give your friends pizza and beer to move your shit for you.
No, 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 no. This was not a job
Nobody.
for anybody that I know personally because they would have died and then I would have got sued and stuff. It would have been quite the expensive move
Yeah.
with someone's back shattering and then
Yeah.
they're dead on my steps.
Well,
Yeah.
this is it, man. This is the show. I just always like air the conversation that I have with people, so I always give you a little heads up that I'll probably like cut in somewhere here. Because there's been plenty of times like I had G Van Gill on and he just started talking to me about like his COVID experience, and that went for like a full hour, and I was like, "Well, thanks, man. That was a fun hang." And he goes, We recorded all of that." I was like, "Yep, yep,
Yeah.
that's the episode."
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm not gonna talk about COVID for an hour. You're good. You're safe.
Yeah, like I've moved on from that for sure. How was Ottawa?
Cold. It was so cold those days, but it was
Oh.
fun. We had a good time. We
Yeah, yeah.
were we were just in and out so quick that it was just 3 days of just boom, boom, boom that we didn't even really get to do anything too fun. But it was, and plus it was cold, so it was good.
You can skate on the canal now. It's only taken 3 years, but it's finally frozen.
I know I wanted to, but it was so cold.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
It
other thing
w-
too.
it was so cold. But yeah, no, it was fun though. We had a good time.
Nice. Okay, good. For the episode, I always ask people to come up with like a word. Did anything come to mind for you?
Oh fuck a word. How about fucking spaced?
Space? Okay.
There it is. Perfect.
It is better when it comes off the top like that.
Perfect. I
I don't want people
totally
stressing
forgot,
about
bro.
it. So many
No,
people
I
are like,
feel
"Oh
bad. I
man."
No, I feel bad. It's like literally the only thing you asked for in the email. So I mean, I feel bad, but no, it actually worked out perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well, I mean, you do have like a lot of shit going on right now, so that makes total sense.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Space. Man, so like did you start comedy in Toronto?
Yeah,
Yeah. So how long like before like when did you start doing comedy and what was like I love hearing people's like tipping point into it.
I think I started like let's say the first set I ever did was in '07. I remember it was July '07, but then I didn't start doing it like until March '08, which is why technically when I consider that I started. But July was the first time I ever did it. July 2007.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And so was it always something that you wanted to try or was it something you had to work yourself up to? Like what was
Yeah,
the feeling?
I always wanted to do it because I found like a VHS of Delirious and I watched it and I was like, "Oh, this is the best." And then I started like listening to like Chappelle and stuff like that, which is crazy because I didn't even have their DVDs. I was just like I don't even know how I listened to it. I don't know if I made a CD.
LimeWire.
I think I did do that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But essentially it was Eddie Murphy first. And then I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do this. I would tell my family, and they were like, shut up. You're a loser. Like just go shut your mouth. And I was like, no, no, I'm serious. And they were always like, whatever. So then I would just, go around the city. I would go around Toronto and I would, just watch shows first before I would, I feel like a lot of people do that. They go and watch and until they
Yeah.
get the balls to do it.
You
But
start
it's
as like a
still,
fanboy.
yeah, but I wasn't really like talking to nobody.
No.
Like I'd show up and I'd sit, and I'd just sort of watch. And I don't think I would talk to anybody because I know the fan people. And I was like, there ain't no way I was doing that. There was no way I was mingling at the
Yeah.
bar with whoever the hell was, performing. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I did that for a couple years, and then finally I just did it, and then like I said, it took me a few months after the first time because I was like, yikes, that was not easy. So yeah,
Yeah.
There
Did
you
you
go.
like record yourself early on and start doing that? Or were you just like, I just need to keep doing it until I feel like I'm getting better at this?
There was no recording. There was nothing to record yourself on, I don't
Right. You'd
think,
have to have like
at
a
that
tape
point.
recorder or something.
Yeah, no, I was basically like, okay, if I don't pass out during this,
Right.
I'll be fine. But yeah, no, it was just like that, the feeling of me not really being, not doing anything that was comfortable that made me funny. So I knew that whatever I did up there needed to be a little bit refined, and I had to reflect on what actually makes me funny and try to bring that on stage, as
Hmm.
opposed to whatever the hell it was did, which was like such a rehearsed act. But you know, it's your
Right.
first time on stage. What the hell do you know? You don't know jack
Yeah.
shit.
Do you remember that shift? Because I remember like when first came to Toronto in like whatever it was, like 2016 or something, you had already been like you're headlining shows at that point, in and
Yeah.
around the city. And I remember this one, I think it was at Yuck Yucks or somewhere where the ceiling was low enough that you could just keep your hand on it. I think it was
Oh,
Yuck
maybe.
Yucks. And you just had your hand up on it. And you were just like going off about, I think it was like a Jays game or something. You were just going in, and the crowd is fucking dying. And it felt so just like this just happened. Let me just tell you about it. And that came off so clear and direct. And but then you're saying that early on you felt too rehearsed or like too bit heavy. Did you notice that? Was that like a cognitive decision for that shift where you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go up there and I know I'm confident and I can get a laugh, whatever I'm talking about.
Yeah, to still currently, I feel like I'm better when I do things that are fresher in my mind, because I'm not really like the greatest, like I'm not great at like joke writing per se, but if it happens in the moment, I
Hmm.
feel like I could sort of riff on that. And then the problem with that though is the longevity of the joke. Like it, then I have the problem of, can I, bring that into my act? And sometimes I can, and if it's relatable, but sometimes I can't, because when I go on the road now, I try to do off the top, uh 5 to 10 minutes on like that city, or like the day before, what I experienced in the
Right.
city. That's what I try to do, and then I try to bring that back to New York to see if it would work. Not maybe a 5 minute chunk, but anything, a
Yeah.
minute or anything. That's what I try to do now. That's how I like try to work on my material and stuff.
Yeah, and I like that more because although there is that like downside, like you said, of it has an expiration date to it. You can almost pull like a larger idea or like a perspective on a certain, maybe let's say you're talking about a specific game that happened. Maybe it's a sports commentary in general from that,
Yes,
you know?
it could be something. It could be an expiration date just based on a topical situation, but it also could be based on, when you have a new joke and you just get by based on like energy and excitement, and then
Yeah.
the more you do it, it just lacks any sort of refinement and like punchline. But just because you were so happy
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
energetic about it, you're just pushing forward.
Yeah.
So,
It could have even been the audience too. Like sometimes the audience is just like like
for sure.
I'm sure even with because you've been touring with like Steph Tolev, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure like her audience is like happy to just be seeing like her and her friends that are opening for her. Like
Yeah.
it's probably not too hard of a crowd to like I gotta win them over. Because she wouldn't have you on the same show if you guys weren't same level of energy, you know?
Yeah, well, obviously they're there for her.
Yeah.
So for me, it's, yeah, of course they're there, they're excited, but it's obviously not. It's going to be a little bit more. I'm going to have to get them a bit more.
Yeah.
But with her, she like, she just did a special, so she doesn't really, she's trying to work on new material, but she also like doesn't want doesn't want crowd work to be done, because
Mm.
she's got to do a new hour up there, right? So she's just like, I need the crowd work. So for me, she doesn't really care what I do, but she tells me like, don't do the crowd work. So for me, I just have to like find another way to
Mm,
not do the material. So that's what I try to do. I try to do five
right.
to 10 on whether it's if I can come to Ottawa or I went to Halifax. I try to do maybe not this weekend because the shows were like a little bit bigger and they were like some theater shows, the first show. So I wanted to be good. But if it was
Hmm.
at a club or something, I'd do 5 or 10 on whatever happened a couple days ago,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then I just try to bring that back to New York and see if I could fit it into my whatever, my act or whatever.
And you kind of like have to, like I was saying, with like a high energy crowd, you almost have to like parse the difference between are they laughing at this because it is the first time I'm saying it and they're like high energy, or is there
I don't
something
even
funny
think
I can
about
pull
that.
about?
I don't even think about that. I just do it, and then if I'm on stage and I'm like, oh, that's something that I like you, on stage I could sort of be like, oh, that might have life.
Hmm.
If I'm going through the motions of it, I understand. Yeah, okay, I'm in whatever Pittsburgh. I could talk about Pittsburgh. They're going to be amped up because I'm talking
Right.
about
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
of course.
But then there's going to be some things that have nothing to do with the city or anything, and it's just a good line or it's just a
Hmm.
good part of a story, and then after you know how it is, like you say something, you're like, oh, that's funny, I think that's funny, and then as days go by you're like, I don't know about that, but then some stick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't necessarily think about it like that. I just try to go through it and do the funny, and then you know on
Hmm.
stage if it flows, and then afterwards I'm like, I think this has life to be a joke or a story or whatever the hell the case is.
Yeah.
Everybody's so different though, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
no, totally. That's why I
you
love
know
talking to like, and I find like a lot of comedians listen to this podcast, so that's why I get a little nerdy about like
yeah,
how you do comedy because everyone does comedy so differently. Like you
yeah,
do comedy differently from the way that I do comedy.
yeah,
And like another question that I always love talking to people who have done the, an hour is like, what is the way that you sort of structure that? Like even thinking back to maybe like your first hour, what was the way that you were like, okay, I have maybe this 10 minutes on relationships. I have this 5 minutes where I can kind of mess around with the crowd. And then do you have like a structure that you put together, or are you very much like, here's how it starts, here's how it ends. I'll figure it out in the middle.
I haven't done like an hour in a long time. But if I had to consistently go on the road and do an hour, like if I knew I was like going to headline and then do an hour on the road, I would 100% have. I would probably again, do some time of crowd work and some stuff about the city off the hop, and then find a way to get into my first joke, and then yeah, have a consistent thing. But I like personally to go and have different. I can't do really the same set.
Right.
It needs to be a little bit different. And I have to try a couple new things here and there. And, how to get into that would have to be different and stuff like that. But no, not me personally. It wouldn't be, really the same. I would have to, again, I'm someone who's very like, uh, I don't know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like in the moment and stuff. So
Yeah.
if I know everything's structured, I just, when you're doing like a showcase or something, and you're doing your joke, and then you're thinking about your next joke,
Hmm.
and you're just, and it sort of makes it feel flat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to just, look down on my sheet that has a million things, and then just go, okay, let me talk about this, and the expectation's not there, and I could like sort of free will it. Because if I see something and I think too much, that's when I'm not great. But I also have to have a little bit of thought in it. It can't be like nothing. I can't just
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
word and do it. Like it has to be a little bit thought out, but it also can't be too much.
Right. There has to be like I find like having it sounds stupid, but like having like an energy behind whatever it is I'm going to talk about. Like I'm trying to think of one of my bits. Oh, I just have like the word expired food. and like I know I have like an energy of like, okay, I'm mad at my parents for like giving me the odd because we grew up poor. So it's
Yeah.
like grew up with expired food. And like when I found that out, my mom was like, you're fine. Like okay, whatever. It's like it was expired, but like no one's generation checked like the expiry dates. Like the food was there, you ate it. Like, there's no waste in my household. So there's this energy behind it, and maybe even the way that I say it changes a little bit here and there, but it's the same sort of like whether it's disgust or anger or frustration, there's some like attitude behind it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, of course. I'm sure like I mean, I heard this story one time about I forget who even told me, and I don't even know if it's true, but it makes sense. I heard Chris Rock was doing a show and he popped into I think Caroline's or something, and he literally did whatever jokes he has, like just regular, didn't Chris Rock it up,
Okay,
and
yeah.
he apparently like, you know, didn't do well. And then he did the same jokes, Chris Rocky,
Yeah.
and like smashed. So yeah, of course, it's comedy. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
90% delivery. You
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah. It truly is. Like there's like
we forget. You know
we
how
forget
like
so much. Like Nate Bargatze is like a perfect example of like you could
yeah,
give someone his act and it wouldn't hit the same. It has to
no,
come out of his mouth.
yeah, no. He just feels what he's saying, and he's saying it. It's so him. It's
Yeah.
like water in a cup, and him like he's like a genius, but it's so simple. Like every word he chooses is like so perfect. But it's like what the hell? I could have thought of that, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you could have, but it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
the genuineness.
That's why it's so much better to just like talk from self versus I was just having this conversation with a buddy about how like and it's another reason why I just try to stick to talking to comedians about being a comedian from their perspective because it's so easy to be like, did you see what happened in the news? Did you see this thing? Did you see this thing? And eventually like every podcast you listen to is talking about the exact same topic.
Yeah.
You're
No,
like,
for sure.
this is so stupid. You're like, there's no diversity in thought because it's like the news and whatever's happening in the culture feels so pressed on everybody because of social media that as a comedian, you're like, you have to almost dig even deeper into like who the fuck you are, like what your perspective is on things without having some sort of you were influenced by something you saw or a headline you read that, but you didn't even read the whole article.
No, absolutely. I mean,
Hot
it,
takes, they're called.
yeah, hot take. Hey, but sometimes people are gonna have hot takes,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Sometimes things are gonna, be in the news or there's gonna be a story or,
yeah.
something that yeah, I'm not like that. I'm obviously someone who's like, I'm funny. I know I'm funniest when I'm talking about myself and stories and I'm not really too political and stuff like that. But I think the more you also do this and the more you get older, you just start gaining a couple extra skills where you don't even realize and you're like, oh, I could talk about this. I think this is funny. I'm not trying too hard. I think this is genuinely funny with my take,
Hmm.
and that's becomes it because I've noticed that about myself. Like I'm not doing anything like where I'm like a political comic, but
Yeah.
there's some things I'm like, oh, this is I would have never done this 10 years ago, but I have a joke about it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So,
That's like Pat Bersher's joke too about like the economy crashing. It's it's like sure that's the shitty economy. A lot of people are talking about that, and it can become like hack to talk about that. But that is very much like a Pat Bersher perspective on the
yes.
economy crashing. Like just turn it off.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
yelling like so good. Like I love that. Like where you
Yeah.
can it's clear like his perspective on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's a good point. You're just, everybody could talk about one thing, but there is going to be a couple people that actually resonate with that topic or, that, whatever it is. So,
Yeah, they tap
absolutely.
in. Now another, this might be a painful memory, but another question I love asking comics is, do you have like a favorite like bombing story where you learned? something
I don't know
from
if I
it,
learned it. I don't know if I learned.
good or bad?
I don't know if I learned, but like, yeah, I've bombed. I don't know. I don't know. I guess the thing with the with bombing is just like it just makes your skin thicker type
Yeah.
thing. That's how I take it. Like, okay, it was brutal, and it's not going to always be good, and then we just keep going. The bombing now is doesn't stick as much as it did, whatever, a couple years ago. But I've had a couple bad ones for sure. But now they're funny to me. So
Yeah. Do you
yeah,
care to elaborate on any of
I
those?
had one show one time. I think it was like in Niagara Falls or whatever. I've told this before on podcasts, so whatever. But it was like a really shitty. I think it was I don't even know what it was, a steakhouse or something like that. And I don't think anyone knew there was a comedy show. And we went to the show, and it was like dark, like it was pretty dark in there. And the host went on, and it was the host, me, and then the headliner, and then the host went on, and he started doing his act. He started doing it pretty much in the dark, and then like he was supposed to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I forget, but literally he did like 6 minutes. As soon as the light turned on, and it went on him, because he was pretty much performing in the dark,
That's
he just
crazy.
like he just went, okay, here's your first comic. And everyone was like, what the hell's going on here? This guy's been talking in the dark, and now the light was on, and he's bringing someone. Everyone was so confused.
Yeah.
So they were having a miserable time. So I went up, and I was trying to do some jokes, and no one was listening. And then there was this family in the front row, or, I didn't even do anything bad. I said, I might have asked him a question like, oh, is this your family? Again, it was honestly, I would be honest if it was really bad. I didn't.
Right,
It was
right.
literally a question. So then the guy gets up, and he gets right in my face, and he starts like screaming at me, and he's like, this is the worst show ever. You're the worst comedian of all time. Like, he's ripping into me. He's like, you ruined my family's night. And to be fair, I didn't really do that. I
Yeah.
was just
I'm
trying
just a
to
party
go.
too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's ripping
It's,
in, but he's like right in my face, and he's
yeah.
like ripping into me, and he's got the mic and everything. Like, it's sort of like a wrestling like promo or something. And then the audience, now everyone's watching now. Now it's a show,
Right.
and everyone's like mortified because you know. So this guy he turns around, and he's like, "Isn't he the worst?" Or he says something like that, like, and the audience just sort of goes, "You suck," and they turn on him. Right? They're like, "You're an idiot," because I really, truly, genuinely didn't do anything. And they're
Right.
like, "Boo, boo," and they start booing this guy, and he's like, "Me," and they're like, "Yeah, you suck." I'm like, I'm just standing there, bro. I'm like literally like, what is happening? So then they boo him, and then they boo his family out, and
No,
every
not the
so he's got like
family.
the two
What the
kids,
family do?
the wife, they were part of the evil empire. So they started booing everybody out, and they boo their ass out the front door.
Yeah.
And then the audience is like, come on, like they're jacked up. And I like look at,
Comedy.
yeah, I
Comedy.
look at my clock, and I'm like, all right, I got 10 more minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna murder. And I
Yeah,
somehow bombed even harder.
yeah. Then they start booing you.
No, they didn't boo me. They were like, oh God,
He
we cut
was
the
right.
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was brutal because
Chanting.
I was
Oh
like, I
man.
finally, it was one of those moments, when you're so wrong on stage, when
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
okay, I got him now.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
just had the confidence, and then I bombed harder, which was hilarious. But they should have brought that guy back in for sure. But
Oh
that's one of
yeah.
them. I don't know. I got a million other
That
ones, but
happened. That happened to me. I was doing this like show where it was a fundraiser for like what are they called? You know those like heroin recovery centers where they're
yeah,
like
like
safe injection site. It was like a safe injection site fundraiser in Toronto. And I was second to last. I think what's his name? I'll think of his name, who was headlining. Somebody goes up, this chick goes up before me, and she ends her set with what did she say? She's like, I like my prisons like how I like my coffee, filled to the brim and black. And then she goes, thank you, good night, and she walks off stage. And
sweet.
this is in the village. and the entire audience just turns on her. Just goes, "What the fuck was that?" And everyone's screaming at her and going crazy. And then the host comes back on stage, makes it worse. Like he starts like blaming the crowd for like getting upset at the comedian instead of trying to calm them down. And then he's like, "Okay, this show's like over." Like he's like, and I'm like, "I haven't even done my spot yet. Like, can I do
Yeah,
a spot?" So then he goes, "Okay, fine. You want to do it? Come on." I come on stage, try to start to calm the crowd down. A couple people start leaving, and I win over the rest of the crowd that stays. People stay there, and then I get maybe like a couple good laughs, but the mood is done at that point.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
trying to be like, okay, let me talk about my wacky day now. After that just happened was tough to recover from.
Yes.
Oh, it was John Steinberg. John Steinberg was the only person that could bring that room back. He came on
Oh
after me
wow,
and crushed, but he's like
wow.
he does really well,
That
so.
is that is hilarious. That John Steinberg was the guy. I love John Steinberg. He's a great
Yeah,
guy. I
yeah,
haven't seen
yeah,
him in
yeah.
years, but
Yeah.
very, very hilarious guy to save what is like a race war essentially
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
comedy show.
I was like,
It's
holy
hilarious.
shit.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I would have told that girl to go fuck herself. I'd have been
Yeah, it
like, "Are
was
you an idiot?"
pretty crazy that she just said
Yeah,
thank you, good night, and then walked off the stage. I was like, holy shit,
yeah.
that kid.
I wouldn't chalk that one up as a bomb on your end. Like if
No,
that
no,
happened
no,
to
no.
me and I
Just
did
like losing the
bad,
crowd after that, though, was like, oh man, I tried.
yeah, that's not really a comedy show at that point. That's bad. That's bad stuff.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a charity show for heroin users.
Well, interesting way to end the show though on her part. It's an interesting closer for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But just to walk off stage to not even want to like sit there in it, is
Did you do something to this woman?
cowardly. No, I don't think so.
I don't know, man.
That
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 sounds
that
like she
does
threw you under
that
the
does seem
bus.
like she's trying to throw me under the bus though, or the rest
She's
of the
like,
show at
she's like,
least.
who's on after me? And you're like, Johnny. And she's like, oh, okay.
Oh, cool. All right.
She goes to her
I'm
bag of
gonna.
just pure like Barry Johnny jokes. Oh, I'll go
Yeah.
with this racist one right here about the prison system. That's what happened. You did something to this
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, yeah,
Look
for
through your
sure.
DMs or your
I
messages.
probably didn't say hi to her when I came in or something, and she's like, "All right, he's on after me. Cool."
She's like,
Yeah.
Johnny, do you
Now,
want to go
now,
for
now that I think
coffee?
about it.
And you ignored her, and she's like,
Yeah,
Johnny,
yeah,
you know how I like my coffee? Black and filled to the brim.
yeah.
And you're like, take it easy. She's like, well, I'm going to use that one and bury him.
I think the host tried to like recover it too by being like, it was actually a pretty good criticism of this unfair judicial system. Like he
Oh,
tried to flip it
he
on them.
tried to go
Like,
woke.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
her head was in the
They
right
were
spot yet.
not buying it. They were not buying it.
Look, those heroin shows too. I'm not gonna lie to you. They look on paper like some of the worst shows of all time, and
Crazy.
you're like, this is gonna be rough. There's a lot of people here with questionable teeth, and they look like
Dude,
they huffed paint, but they're like obviously all sober. And then they're like the greatest crowds of all time because they're just so jacked up. But
yeah.
this girl ended it. It ended that for everybody.
Ended it. No more of those shows. Now, I remember trying to go to the bathroom and there was a dude at the bottom of the stairs just slumped right over. I was like,
Oh, he was.
oh, he
Uh
turned this
oh.
place into a safe injection site.
Uh oh. A little
I was
relapse
like,
there.
whoa, shit.
Oh no, that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
good.
was not good. Um, shifting gears here.
Yeah,
Uh, when did you move to New York City? Like when did you feel like, okay, it's time that I, you know, leave Toronto and go to America because Canada
I'm gonna shit
isn't gonna
talk.
give me anything.
I'm gonna shit talk. I
Okay.
will shit talk. I don't care. Because in Canada, legitimately, there's like four things that you can do, and there's like three people who run stuff. And I was early on realizing that those three people didn't really care for me. So I was like, okay, I might as well just go to New York. I want to always go to New York anyways because, it's New York and it's probably the best place to do comedy. But, I felt I didn't have, well, first of all, I didn't have my like proper, visa status yet. So I would have waited a couple more years, but it was like 2014. But I was like, I'm done with this place.
Yeah.
I can't like, you know, mind you, it wasn't that much time that I had been doing comedy, but I just already knew that there was just, I don't know, there was only a few people that could do things. And I was like, I don't know if I have the energy to fight for them to like me.
Hmm.
That's how I felt.
Totally.
Yeah. So 2014, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense to like just think, okay, well, fuck that. I'm gonna try to get in over here then, where there's like way more opportunity because it is so much like this, it feels like a click or something that you have to try to break into in Canada. Like there's this tightly run like circuit of people that they revolve through, that they will revolve through until like the end of time. And Brian O'Gorman is going on an absolute like spree right now with calling out people that are gatekeeping Canadian comedy right
Oh,
now.
fuck.
If you
I've been,
check
I
his
mean,
Instagram, it's
I've been
crazy.
moving. What is this on his stories or something?
No, on he posted, he made a reel, put together a
Oh,
reel,
wow.
just roasting there's like a Canadian like comedy union or something that tried to
Oh,
form, and there's people on the board that don't really do comedy,
yeah.
deciding what happens in Canadian comedy, and he went to, took them to task.
Yeah. Well, damn. Yeah, I don't know anything about the comedy union or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it out because there's no way I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just but also like not to talk too much shit. Like at the end of the day, this is your stuff and what you have to do. So, no one's when you do this, no one's supposed to be like, okay, Johnny, this is yours, run with it. Like
Right,
you
totally.
gotta, you gotta make your own. You could sit and complain, or you can go and do what you want to do. And
Oh
I mean, I
yeah.
think I think I don't know, everybody's different, but I think New York is just like the best place to do comedy, like a hundred
Oh,
percent. Like I honestly think there's so many
easily.
good comedians. There's so many different comedians. There's so many different shows that you have to sort of be, like there's the alt scene and then there's the club scene, but within everything, you got tourists from other places. Like you have to be unique, but you have to be very general too.
Hmm.
There's just so many people that are coming from different parts of America, from Europe, from Australia, and you have to have like, a good enough act that you're gonna hit a bunch of people, and then you gotta also deal with the New York crowd that's seen it all. So it just makes you more bulletproof. So that's
Yeah.
for sure the main reason why I went, because I felt like I wanted to be the best comedian I can be, and I feel like New York would give me that opportunity.
It is the ultimate place to do that, right? Like it's tried and true. It's been there forever. It's cranked out some of the greatest comedians like of all time, and it's exactly because of what you said of you're interacting with so many different types of people that you have to be able to hit all of them. And I always kind of find it funny that people move to New York and then they just start touring the rest of the country, and it's like you're not even living in New York that much. You just immediately are like, oh, but that's what you do because like then you
You
get
do
to
it, yeah.
experience all of these like it's so much easier in America to jump around to all of these different like states because of like how close they are, how local they are, how easy the flight system is there too. Like for you to go in Canada, you've got Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg. Like you could count on one hand the tour of places unless you're going to go small towns which are all
Yeah.
like 6 hours apart from each other.
Yes, Canada is definitely tough to go on a little run
Right.
because, there's just so little. There's what is it, 38 million people? Like it's tough.
Yeah. It's the
But yeah,
state of California.
yeah, essentially, right? In a gigantic,
Yeah.
place. So yeah. So but I mean
Yeah.
Canada also has a lot of good things to offer too, from comedy and just getting better and stuff like that. But yeah, that was it. That's why I wanted
Yeah.
to go.
Now, there's one question that I always ask all my guests, and the question is essentially what advice would you give to your younger self? But I always want to add a little bit more context. I like for you to imagine you at 15 years old. Think about like who you were at 15, where you were, and the phone rings and it's you now on the other end, and you can give your younger self a piece of advice. It's not going to change your life. Your life is already set in motion. What do you say?
I would say drop the ego. Not like an ego like you walk around like you're better than people, but the an ego like things change, uh, you know, times change, and you have to sort of adapt to it and with an open mind, as opposed to like, oh no, no, I can't, I don't have time to do this new stuff, and oh, I can't learn this. Like, you have to get rid of that, and you got to just like go with the flow, because times change, things change, and you don't want to be like left in the dust type thing.
Yeah, totally. I think that's great advice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna share your Instagram for people watching on YouTube. It's at Mr. Alex Pavone. Links in the
yeah,
description. You can watch Cat Daddy and the Pizza Squirrel every Tuesday at 8 p.m. New episodes live on YouTube. That link will also be down in the
yeah,
description below.
yeah. We call
And
we call them live if you want, buddy.
oh,
Eight to
nice.
nine. You want to talk shit about sports? We're more than
Hell
happy.
yeah. Nice.
We're not really serious though. I mean, we talk about sports, but we're it's funny first. We're
You
not
shoot the shit first.
we're not
Nice.
examining. We're not like Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
talking about the third line and everything.
yeah. I don't even know what the hell we're talking about, but yeah.
Well, man, thanks so much for making time to come on the show. I know you got more moving stuff to do, but I appreciate
No
you
worries, bro. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
kind of the time. I'll send this link to you whenever it's up.
You're the man. All
All
right,
right.
bro.
Later,
Thanks
bro.
so much. Take
Take
care.
care. You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.